Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, Dominicans continue to access essential services as a curfew imposed on Saturday entered its second full day on Monday. Taxi operators concerned about their livelihood or loss of livelihood as COVID-19 triggers an early end to the 2019-2020 cruise season, and Dominican Nurses Association welcomes Cuban Medical Brigade to help Dominica fight against COVID-19. The details coming up.
Giving away $30,000 in cash,
oh, yeah.
2 bags of money plus a grand every Friday.
We're flowing better every day, and now we're making parties great. That's 3 ways that you can play. So listen up.
Top up.
$10 more.
Sign up.
Just switch to Flow.
Get a plan.
1 gig or more. If you wanna win cash galore.
We flow.
Win a bag of money.
Cash out.
Get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
So top up, get a plan, or switch now to win. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
When you feel a sneeze or a cough coming, covering your mouth prevents the spread of germs. You probably knew that. But the way you cover up also matters, and that means breaking a habit you've held near and dear all your life. Cover your nose and mouth with your flexed elbow or a tissue, not your hands. Discard the used tissue immediately. Then wash your hands. Help stop the spread of germs. Remember, your health is your responsibility.
A message by the Health Promotion Unit of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Dominica.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
Avec Flow, gagnez l'argent, on partit l'argent avec Flow. Gagnez l'argent, on gros sac l'argent. C'est juste ça pour gagner un gros sac l'argent avec Flow. And mettez on top up, sign up, quittez yo, et venez joindre Flow. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD. All for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
First up in the news, the essential services continued to operate Monday, even as a curfew imposed on Saturday is expected to remain in effect until 8 a.m. on Tuesday. As expected, employees of the fire and ambulance service were on the job on Monday. In the city, a number of businesses opened to the public for stipulated periods, but it was certainly not your usual Monday morning in the city of Roseau, where streets were generally abandoned. The Minister for Health explained why these tougher measures were being taken.
Sadly, some of our people have not heeded the calls for cooperation and the exercise of personal and collective responsibility and have been failing and or refusing to adhere to the guidelines, protocols, and pleas of the health authorities. This action is detrimental to the health, well-being, and lives of our people and cannot therefore be permitted to continue unchecked.
He was also clear about the consequences of breaking the curfew, which ends at 8 a.m. on Tuesday.
Failure to comply with any of the provisions of the Environmental Health Services Act and regulations is an offense. And under the provision of the Environmental Health Services Act 1997, a person guilty of an offense under these provisions may receive a fine of $10,000 and imprisonment for 12 months. We are hopeful that our people will fully cooperate, and there will be no need to enforce these provisions.
General provisions of the Environmental Health Services Act COVID-19 Regulations 2020 remain in effect until Saturday, 18th April. Concerns have been raised about the impact the COVID-19 is expected to have on the tourism sector. That sector is likely to be among those hardest hit under a social distancing policy. The World Travel and Tourism Council has warned the COVID-19 pandemic could cut 50 million jobs worldwide in the travel and tourism industry. Asia is expected to be the worst affected. Once the outbreak is over, it could take up to 10 months for the industry to recover. The tourism industry currently accounts for 10% of global GDP. The World Travel and Tourism Council says the coronavirus epidemic is putting up to 50 million jobs in the global travel and tourism sector at risk, with travel likely to slump by a quarter this year. The question of tax obligations of hotels currently experiencing very low occupancy levels is already being discussed locally.
The two major taxes that are at play here are income taxes and the value-added tax. Income taxes, there are thresholds below which you won't pay tax. And corporate income tax, which would apply to tourism or any other business, you only pay tax if there is a profit. So if you have no business and you make no profits, then there's no tax due. But you must still file. More broadly, I would say that any event which occurs in a country, in an economy, has to be assessed. So there's a lot of it in the news, but what you hear on the news is just a tip of the back office operations and discussions which take place. The same applies to Dominica. An event of this nature has to be assessed comprehensively, analyzing the impacts, understanding the implications of not taking action or of any action that is taken. That's what happens in the background. What you see at the end is the policy decision that is made. And I refer again to the statement of the Prime Minister, which is sufficient, more than sufficient at this time, to confirm that the government continues to pay close attention to the situation. And if and when it is appropriate, announcements will be made. But the fact is there are things that must be done. There's information that must be available. And the priority of what needs to be done will also have to be determined.
Still in tourism, a crippling halt to their daily livelihood is how taxi operators view the premature end of the 2019-2020 cruise season. The cruise season, which started in October 2019, was supposed to have ended in April 2020. However, the season came to its untimely demise earlier in March as the COVID-19 pandemic continued to affect all sectors of society. President of the Combined Taxi Inc., Philip Gist, says the effect of the pandemic on the tourism sector is widespread among Dominican taxi operators.
On the cruise sector, taxi operators, they have had a major impact. We had a sudden halt of the cruise sector earlier this month. So that has caused a lot of taxi drivers to lost serious revenue. For those of us who do the French sector, is also a massive blow too, because the French market is also shut down. And for those who do the hotel sector, that whole sector is shut down. So you can imagine the impact that it have had on the taxi operators. For the bus drivers, the impact is a little less because you still have persons commuting. But as of today, a number of businesses are shutting down. So it means you're going to have less persons moving from one point to another.
While the suggestion of financial incentives has been on the table, Gist questions the practicality of such a move.
Yes, the country is all of us. The country, yes, we look forward for incentives. Can the country give? Because the country itself is going to suffer tremendously from not being able to raise sufficient taxes, even from the use of gas, because the use of gas is going to cut down. So we are just asking individuals to let's look at where we are now. COVID-19 is upon us. Let us see if we can skip COVID-19 safely and let's recover. And from there, any other part of the country's economy and your individual self to recover, we will look at that.
Dominicans encouraged to take advantage of banking services offered online in light of restrictions at the banks in light of the COVID-19 and social distancing requirements. Guidelines have been provided to the public on how to navigate the changes taking place in the financial sector due to COVID-19. Individual banks have been releasing their own public service announcements to guide clients, but the financial secretary says the banks must also reduce staff to meet their social distancing criteria. Banks remaining fully open would defeat the purpose of the goals of the Ministry of Health as regards social distancing and minimizing the spread of COVID-19.
So it became an intricate balance between providing the services and adhering to the protocols that we want to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And so the banks will make available full commercial or service to commercial customers and the government to ensure that trade and economic activity continues to the extent that both these entities would like to do so. And anyone else requiring service from the bank would make an appointment. Now, we don't expect that to be too many people because in recent years, all of the financial institutions have moved to the use of cards, and many of the services are offered online. And we encourage people, since you are home, your computers are with you, your phones are with you, utilize the technology and conduct your business online.
You are watching Channel 5 News. We'll have more after this.
Avec Flow, gagner l'argent, on partit l'argent avec Flow. Gagner l'argent, on gros sac l'argent. C'est juste ça pour gagner un gros sac l'argent avec Flow. Animez on top up, sign up, quittez yo, every video join Flow. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD. All for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
Les moun qui ni TB estene et ben tout c'est, moun qui en bonne santé oli ouin ka respirer c'est vermine là. Moun qui pa ni bon tempérament, kon sa ki ni maladie HIV, alcool, ka fumer, ti mamay et grand moun bien sensible pour ces maladies ça là. Moun qui ka tousse ni pour prendre précaution les yo en parmi moun en place publique, couvert bouche ou le ka estene et tousse. Visitez docteur et ben place santé. Fini tout traitement yo ba ou sa joine guérison et puis maladie TB. En responsabilité ou aider du bout si men maladie TB et HIV, protéger corps et les autres.
With Flow, when I bag of money, cash out, get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
Yo, check this. Flow is giving away $30,000 in cash.
Oh, yeah.
2 bags of money plus a grand every Friday.
With Flow is better every day, and now we're making parties great. That's 3 ways that you can play. So listen up.
Top up,
$10 more.
sign up,
Just switch to Flow.
get a plan
1 gig or more. If you wanna win cash galore.
with Flow.
Win a bag of money.
Cash out.
Get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
So top up, get a plan, or switch now to win. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
When you feel a sneeze or a cough coming, covering your mouth prevents the spread of germs. You probably knew that. But the way you cover up also matters, and that means breaking a habit you've held near and dear all your life. Cover your nose and mouth with your flexed elbow or a tissue, not your hands. Discard the used tissue immediately. Then wash your hands. Help stop the spread of germs. Remember, your health is your responsibility.
A message by the Health Promotion Unit of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Dominica.
Helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
Thank you for staying with us. A shipment of rice and brown sugar expected on island next week as a panic buying had depleted Dexia's supplies. Here is Andrea Louis with more.
The announcement of COVID-19 in the region and subsequently in Dominica has led to what has been coined panic purchasing by the general public as Dominicans stock up for a quarantine or lockdown period. The purchasing of increased quantities of items is not only evident in stores and supermarkets, but also at the Dominica Export-Import Agency, Dexia. The institution is known for selling sugar and rice to the public and generally manages its supply so there is no shortage. However, commercial manager at Dexia, Brenda Francis, says panic purchasing has led to no rice or brown sugar for sale at this time.
For the past 2 weeks, we have noticed that Dominicans have been in a frenzy purchasing large quantities, stuff that they haven't bought in, haven't really purchased in weeks. So we notice persons who would normally buy 2 free bags are now buying 10, 15, 20 bags. The supermarkets have doubled the amounts. So that has created a real problem, particularly for brown sugar. We have noticed that there is a little extra buying with the rice. Our stocks of brown sugar as we speak for the public for sale we do not have. We only have available white sugar for sale, no rice for sale.
Dexia has on reserve 3-week supply of these commodities to provide to needy or charitable institutions such as the hospital, the infirmary and the prison. Mrs. Francis says this reserve will not be tapped into due to public demand. Dominicans are being reassured that more sugar and rice will be on island shortly.
We expect a shipment in a week and a half, so I think both of them, the brown sugar and the rice, will actually come at the same time. So there is sufficient quantities. We do not expect that our customers will come outside in droves trying to purchase large quantities. We noticed 2 weeks ago we had sufficient stock to last us for 6 weeks. Particularly brown sugar, that sold out in a week and a half. Not even a week and a half, almost a week. So when we realized that was happening, we took steps to at least, reserve some additional beyond what we normally would reserve. So we reserve some additional just in case anything happens. At least we can provide, sugar and rice to the needy institutions.
Dexia is pleased to note that thus far there have been no reports of price gouging on the part of merchants who sell sugar and rice from the company.
So far, the merchants have been sticking to the prices that we have recommended. We do not expect them to up it, and we have been in contact with them. We have spoken to them and assured them that we will get sugar, so there's no need to really increase the price and pass that on to the consumer. Well, we just to reassure the public that please do not panic. There was sufficient sugar on island. We had put out a notice letting them know that there was sufficient sugar on islands. We know that persons have bought a lot of sugar that they may not consume in weeks to come. And we pray that all goes well. In a week and a half, as I say, we should be expecting some sugar, brown sugar particularly, and we are receiving adequate quantities, so we just ask that they just do not panic.
The Dominican Nurses Association welcomes the contingent of nurses from Cuba to help in the country's fight against COVID-19 or the COVID-19 outbreak. We go again to Andrea Louis for more.
The team of Cuban nurses arrived on island Sunday night. According to a statement from President of the Dominican Nurses Association, Mignon Roll Shillingford, open quote, "Regretfully, our army is small and already burnt out, and some of us are exempted from the battle because of chronic underlying illnesses. Mindful of this, the government has sought the assistance of a contingent of nurses and other health workers who arrived from Cuba on Sunday, 29th March, close quote. The DNA president went on to commend all the frontline health workers who remain steadfast in their duty of taking care of the sick, especially during the COVID-19 crisis. She also noted the provision of personal protective equipment, adequate training, psychological preparation and support, among other resources, are critical for this battle. Nurse Mignon Roll Shillingford went on to implore the public to play their part in the war against COVID-19 by adhering to the guidelines by the Ministry of Health and WHO, namely, covering your cough and sneeze with a tissue and throwing the tissue in a bin, washing hands frequently with soap and water, cleaning surfaces with approved cleaning solutions, maintaining overall health by keeping hydrated, managing chronic diseases, boosting immune system and getting sufficient rest, and practicing social distancing. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
And social distancing is one of the main policy decisions taken by government upon the recommendation of the World Health Organization to minimize the spread of COVID-19. But how the private sector implements it, or this aspect of it, is mainly left up to them. The Financial Secretary says the private sector is required to take the same precautions as the public sector, but how it implements this is up to the private sector.
How the private sector does that, for the time being, is left to the private sector, unless there is specific legislation that stipulates that. So each company, each agency, each bank will determine how it affects the policy of social distancing. Now, clearly, if social distancing is trying to have people away from each other, then in a building with too many people, you're not going to achieve that, and therefore they are likely to adopt a policy to have fewer people in the building at a time. How they do that is left to the individual institution, the individual agency. So government has not mandated the how, government has mandated what it is we need to do to stop the spread of the disease, which one of the items is to practice social distancing. So it applies to the private sector, it applies to the church, it applies to government, it applies to sporting agencies, and we can go on.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD, all for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
Avec Flow, gagnez l'argent, on partit l'argent avec Flow. Gagnez l'argent, on gros sac l'argent. C'est juste ça pour gagner un gros sac l'argent avec Flow. Animez on top up, sign up, quittez yo, every video join Flow. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts, with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
Get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah.
Yo, check this. Flow is giving away $30,000 in cash.
Oh, yeah.
2 bags of money plus $1,000 every Friday.
With Flow is better every day, and now we're making parties great. That's 3 ways that you can play. So listen up.
Top up.
$10 or more.
Sign up.
Just switch to Flow.
Get a plan.
1 gig or more. If you wanna win cash galore.
With Flow.
Win a bag of money.
Cash out.
Get a bag of money. What you gonna do with a bag of money? Yeah. From Flow.
So top up, get a plan, or switch now to win. It only gets better with Flow.
Flow terms and conditions apply.
To end the news, a look again at the headlines. Dominicans continue to access essential services as a curfew imposed on Saturday entered its second full day on Monday. Taxi operators concerned about their loss of livelihood as COVID-19 triggers an early end to the 2019-2020 cruise season. And Dominica Nurses Association welcomes Cuban Medical Brigade to help Dominica's fight against COVID-19. You may access our news on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.